Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in. I know we're at a very weird angle today, but that is because we are going to be doing some decluttering. So, I feel like most people that do these kinds of videos have somewhat of like an order going for their videos, like, you know, complexion products and face powders and blushes and bronzers, and I just am all over the place. So today I think I'm just going to focus on whatever the heck is in this top drawer here of this acrylic organizer. And it's concealers, there's some cream highlighter type products, and then there's a bunch of mascaras and eyeliners, probably most of which are going to be thrown out. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, then you've come to the right place. So I'll go ahead and start off with the concealers that I have over here, and I'll kind of just try to grab like ones that there's a couple that I have like multiples of. So yeah, let's start off with these. I have a couple from the Maybelline Fit Me line. These are, yeah, just the Maybelline Fit Me concealers, and as you can see, I have 3 of these. 2 of these are the same color, I believe. These 2 are the same color, and then this one's a different color. So these 2 are in the shade 30 Cafe, and then this one is in the shade 40 Caramel, which is funny because like you would think that 30 would be the lighter shade and 40 would be darker, but it's actually opposite because Maybelline's line is just all kinds of messed up. But fun fact, 30, these 2 right here, Cafe, this used to be the darkest shade that Maybelline carried for quite some time, which also didn't make sense because they did have one numbered 35 that was lighter than this, but 30 Cafe was the darkest shade that they had, and yeah, times have advanced since then, thankfully. Took them some years, and inclusivity being a trend, but you know, we got there. We got there. So the reason why I have 2 of these in Cafe is because when Maybelline expanded the shade range on these, and I saw these in the store, I just could have sworn that 30 Cafe looked darker than what I remembered. So I bought it thinking that they must have like redone the shades or something. But no, it's exactly, these are basically exactly the same. And the thing is, the tone of this actually is okay. Like, well, actually the shade of this is okay. These would work nicely on me as an under eye highlighter in this type of like shade range. But the problem is the undertone of these. They've got this kind of like neutral, this shade has a neutral-ish undertone, so it just ends up looking kind of gray on me. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of these because the formula is not bad and I can make these work, but I just have other concealers that work better on me that I can and need to get through. So I'm just going to try to see if I can't pass these along to somebody that they would suit a little bit better. And then this shade Caramel 40, I'm actually going to hang on to this one because even though this is lighter, and I definitely wouldn't use this on its own, even as a highlighting concealer, this actually does have that proper sort of like golden undertone that works a lot better on me. And I do like to use this as sort of like a center highlight type of shade when I'm using concealers that are a little bit, you know, closer to my skin tone. So I'm gonna hang on to this one. Let's go ahead and talk about the other 2 Maybelline concealers that I have. So I've got Better Skin and the Instant Age Rewind. So Better Skin, this is actually one that I have had for a really, really long time. This is in the shade Deep. So this shade is actually probably very tonally close to Cafe from the Fit Me line, but this one again has more of that golden tone. And actually I will go ahead and I will swatch the 2 next to each other so you can kind of see, so you can see what they look like and what I mean. So the shades are very similar, it's just the tones are different. So that's Cafe right there, which I feel like it looks pretty golden, which maybe, you know what it is, maybe it's more olive, I guess. I don't know. It just sometimes doesn't look quite right on me. And then this is the Better Skin one, which this one I know, that's actually, I have an old swatch of concealer there, but this is the other shade. So that's lighter, but the tone actually works better on me, which again, I feel like maybe it's not showing that well because you might think that Cafe just, I guess it's olive. Maybe that's what it is. It has a slight olive tone to it, and that's what maybe throws it off on my skin. So again, this one is lighter on me. Because this concealer is more, both of these they're kind of more like light medium coverage, I would say, like light buildable. So even though this is like a lighter concealer, this actually does blend out to look pretty okay on me as like a highlighting concealer. So I'm gonna hold on to this and just kind of like keep using it, but I do need to like try to use it up probably within the next year or so, just because it is it's pretty old at this point. Like I've had this for a really long time. Like I probably bought it maybe like a year or so after the Better Skin line came out, and that was a long time ago. So that's that. And I'll go ahead and swatch Caramel as well, so you can kind of see. And Caramel should be lighter than the Better Skin concealer, so yeah, slightly, well, they look kind of the same. Nah, Caramel's lighter. Maybe it's hard to tell on camera, but Caramel's definitely probably about half a shade lighter. But those are those concealers. Next up, another drugstore one. This one I absolutely hate. This is the Wet n Wild Photofocus concealer, and you know, I'm a rational person, and I realize that everybody has different tastes in makeup, and makeup is subjective, different skin types, different preferences, yada yada yada. But this is one of those products that I'm just like, I don't understand how anybody could like this. And I think the reason why I'm even more mad at this product is, I remember when this came out, this was, I feel like, the first like hyped up concealer launch post Tarte Shape Tape. So of course everybody was trying to compare this to Tarte Shape Tape, because Tarte Shape Tape was like the holy grail concealer of the time. And this is nothing like Tarte Shape Tape. Anybody who has ever made a video saying that this is, I could understand the curiosity in comparing them if, you know, Wet n Wild marketed this as a full coverage concealer, and with this being like the first hyped up concealer to come out since Tarte Shape Tape. But like everybody who made a video comparing the two and saying that they were anywhere near alike, flat out blatantly lied. Like there's just no way that anybody can make that claim. This is, and I'll show you, and I'll actually swatch Tarte Shape Tape right next to it. So this is in the shade Dark Cocoa. So the shade of this is actually quite nice. I like the shade of this a lot, but this is a very, very sheer, lightweight concealer. And I don't even know if you can kind of just like tell, even just like by looking at it here, that like it's not quite even all the way across. And it's even worse when I try to like blend it underneath my eyes, where, you know, there are actual, you know, the skin isn't as smooth as it is on the back of my hand, right? So this just kind of blends away to nothing, and it's really, really dewy. It doesn't, you know, it never like dries down, which is, I guess, not the worst thing in the world, because I mean, I always set my concealer with powder, but before I do that, I always like to test concealers out just to see how they last on their own. And this was just one that did terribly. So I don't understand how anybody could say that this is anything like Tarte Shape Tape. So I'll go ahead and swatch Tarte Shape Tape. This is I have mine in the shade Deep. This one actually I've had for quite some time. I haven't reached into this drawer in general, so like all of the concealers that are in here have been kind of neglected. As you can see, I have some of like the tubes starting to show through, so this is obviously going to be gone pretty soon. The funny thing is, I do have a backup of this I bought pretty soon after I bought this, because I realized how much I liked this concealer, not realizing how long it would take me to go through this entire bottle of full coverage concealer. But this is the Tarte, and I mean, even just looking at them swatched out on my hand, you can see how much more matte Tarte Shape Tape appears, and Tarte Shape Tape will dry down. By the way, that dried swatch you actually see right there is Tarte Shape Tape. Like, and it does dry down like a lot darker than what it looks like. So yeah, like these just are not the same. They're not the same at all. They're just not. Like, this is full coverage, drying, a little bit drying, you know. Well, I didn't find it to be drying, but I could see why you might find it to be drying. It is a matte concealer. This is radiant, blends away into nothing, stays tacky, doesn't dry down. Nothing like Tarte Shape Tape whatsoever. So that's my take on that. But I am going to hold on to Tarte Shape Tape. Obviously, I just need to get around to using it some more. But yeah, that Wet n Wild one is gone. Okay, let's talk about something else I'm going to get rid of. I'm getting rid of my Colourpop No Filter concealers. I have two of these. This one, which is in the shade, what is it? Deep Golden 60, and then this one, which is in the shade Deep 70. Is that what it is? Yeah, Deep 70. So I feel like people either loved this concealer or hated it. I unfortunately fell into the camp of people who hated this concealer. This concealer checked off everything that I could possibly hate in a concealer. It was extremely cakey, really drying, which is weird because, again, I don't have dry skin. So usually when people complain about products being dry, that either means it's going to be a good product for me, or it's just something that I don't really notice on my skin. This actually was drying, like legitimately drying on my skin. Very just cakey looking, mask-like, and it creased. It did all the bad things that a concealer could possibly do. So I'm going to get rid of these. for a while I thought about holding on to this shade, Deep 70, because this is like kind of close to my skin tone. It's a little too red, but I was like, you know, I can make it work. And I was going to kind of use this like as a foundation or in lieu of foundation, but the problem is these are so like full coverage that unless I wanted to just like cover my entire face in this, there'd be no point in trying to like kind of spot conceal with it, because it just looks unnatural, you know, which makes sense. Like, that's not the concealer's fault. It is a full coverage concealer, so you probably wouldn't be using it to just do everyday spot concealing with. But even as like an all over foundation, it just looks way too dry and cakey on the skin. So I'm going to get rid of both of these. So next I will talk about this a drugstore concealer that I do really like. This is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Conceal and Contour. This is actually in the shade C14, which is too dark for me, like way too dark for me. This I bought like when it came out, and I think Makeup Revolution has expanded the shade range, so that's what that looks like. I actually had another one in the shade C13. C13 is my perfect like shade, like it matches my skin tone exactly. I just had wished that there was one a little bit lighter that I could use as like a highlighting concealer, because 12 was like way too light. But I think, like I said, since I've tried them out, they've released more shades. So I am probably going to try to check out 12.5, and I do want to repurchase 13 because 13 was really, really nice. And I know that they have an option where you can buy like a supersized version of it now, which is nice too. But yeah, this is obviously way too dark. It is called Conceal and Contour, so I could hold on and use this as a cream contour, but to be honest, I don't really reach for cream contours super often. I tell you what, I will put this with my contour products, and if I don't find myself reaching for it, then I will declutter it in the future. So I'm going to take this out of the drawer and put it into the drawer where my contours are. Next up, I have my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealers. This is a holy grail product of mine. I love this concealer. This is one of those concealers where every now and then I will pick it back up, because, you know, sometimes I get distracted by other things. Lately, it's been the CoverFX Powerplay Concealer. That is an amazing concealer, and I've been using that almost daily, like sometimes even in lieu of foundation. And that actually isn't even in here, because like I said, I literally have not come over here, which is terrible. I need to make more of an effort to kind of like shop my stash, which is what I'm actually going to be doing. I actually filmed a shop my stash video, and it's already up. It's not up on my channel, but I've uploaded it to my channel and I've scheduled it to release. But I'm going to put this video out before that video, so hopefully that video will go up. I think it's going up next week. Well, I don't know when I'm putting this up, but it'll be up shortly after this video. So hopefully that'll remedy me actually coming over here and picking the products out of here. But my point is, anytime I reach for this concealer or pick this concealer back up again after having left it for a while, because like before CoverFX, it was like Tarte Shape Tape, and even the Makeup Revolution one, I got kind of distracted away from these, and these are just so good. Let me tell you the shades that I have. I have number medium dark 3 Amande, and then this one is, I think, dark 1 Cafe. Yes. Amande is actually my perfect shade. This brightens under the eyes, I think just because my under eye area is a little bit darker than the rest of my face. And it also is like my perfect shade match for the rest of my face. And then I have Cafe to just kind of like darken up some of the perimeter of my face, because like the thing is, like, I'm used to seeing my face how it is, right? And so myself, like most people, I have different skin tones going on my face, so I actually like having more dimension going on in my face rather than just putting on like one flat color that kind of just makes me look a little bit more unnatural, you know? So I have Cafe, and I like to use this and kind of mix it with Amande when I just want to kind of add more dimension to like the perimeter, outer perimeter of my face. So yeah, these, I love these. They just look so good on the skin. I can't even describe it. They're just good. They just look good. They look natural but perfect your skin at the same time. It's a really nice product. Definitely expensive, pricey. You do kind of go through these fast, but like everybody kind of says with these, make sure that if you do ever buy these, you definitely need to do the trick where you pull the stopper out. I promise you'll get probably like 20 to 30 extra uses if you do that, and that's something you probably definitely want to do with these given how pricey they are. But yeah, these are amazing. Next up, I have this Smashbox Studio Skin 24-hour waterproof concealer. I think Smashbox has actually redone these or rebranded their concealer line. I love this concealer though. before it had a pretty limited shade range. I think it was like 10 shades, but I will say that with the 10 shades that they had, I feel like they at least tried to kind of, you know, reflect a decent gradient. However, I'm really happy to see that they've expanded the shade range for this. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that whatever formula the concealer is now is the same as or very similar to this, because this is an amazing formula. In fact, this is one that I would have said was the closest thing I had to Tarte Shape Tape at the time, because this is a very, very full coverage concealer. In fact, let me swatch it. So there's a Tarte Shape Tape right there, and as you can see, again, next to that freaking Wet n Wild concealer, like how much more of a sheen that has, like, because it hasn't dried down. The Tarte Shape Tape is probably like completely, yeah, that's like dried down. This is like still emollient, will move around, like it's basically gone. You know what, I need to wipe my hand off and then we'll swatch some more. Man, that Tarte Shape Tape is strong because it's like still trying to cling on to my skin where I swatched it earlier. But anyways, this is again the Smashbox Studio Skin Concealer in the shade Dark. Again, I think they've redone the shade name, so this might not even be like an actual shade anymore. But this is a really nice, like, do you see? Like, that is so full coverage, super opaque. This does dry down. The only thing that really bothered me about this concealer is you got 0.08 fluid ounces. And I want to say this concealer was, you know, probably around the same price as like NARS Radiant Creamy. It was probably a few dollars less, like a few dollars cheaper. But with the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, you got 0.22 fluid ounces. Yes, 0.22 fluid ounces. So just to kind of put that into perspective for you, you got almost 3 times the amount of product here as you did here. So this was 3 times worse of a value, or 3 times more expensive than NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. So that's kind of crazy. But I will go ahead and swatch Tarte Shape Tape next to it so you can see how similar the formulas are. Hopefully you'll kind of be able to tell just on camera. Like, both very opaque, both very, very full coverage concealers, and both really great colors on my skin as well. So I did see that when Smashbox redid these concealers, or I don't know if it's the same concealer. I'm hoping it's the same concealer, but either way, when they redid their concealer line, they did increase the amount of product you got. So I'm really, really happy about that. And I think it might even be a little bit cheaper than it was before. So crossing my fingers it's the same, because if it is, then this is a concealer that I can see myself continuing to purchase just kind of like over time. Now I have some potted concealer-ish products, so let's go through those. First up, I have this MAC cream color base. So this is what this product looks like. This was meant to just be like a product that you could use kind of like all over, like a multi-purpose type of product. I actually bought this because I wanted to use it as like an eyeshadow base, but it didn't work so great for that because, I mean, you can see like how kind of like emollient it looks. The thing is, I do think that I feel like I've played around with this a little bit since then, and I do feel like, you know, if you kind of blend this product out, it does turn more like, not even necessarily powdery, but it kind of sets. So I do want to kind of give this another try as an eyeshadow base. But even if I don't use it for that, I think it could be fine to use as like a spot concealer. It is a pretty good color match on me. Oh, I didn't even say what the color was. This is mid-tone Sepia. They don't, like I said, did I say that they didn't make these anymore? If I didn't, this is discontinued, so they don't make this anymore. So it's not like I can go ahead and repurchase it. I've also had this for a while, but it hasn't gone off. It doesn't smell funny, so I'm gonna use it again. Maybe I shouldn't use it on my eyes because it's so old, but I definitely would like to use it as try to use it as a spot concealer, if not anything else. Next up is another product that's sadly been discontinued, but I think is really good. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Concealer, and I have it in the shade 6.0. This is what it looks like. Now, if you thought the cream color base looked emollient, I mean, this is super emollient. I don't know if Anastasia Beverly Hills ever specifically advertised these for use on like around the brows, but I'm assuming that they sold this, even though it's not called brow concealer, I'm assuming they sold this primarily as a brow concealer, because I could not even imagine, like, I don't think I've ever tried, but I wouldn't try to use this as an under eye concealer. It's a perfect color for that because it's really nice and golden, but it's just, this concealer feels so heavy and so thick. I'll go ahead and try to kind of like get a little bit of it so you can maybe get a feel for it. Like, look at how, just look at it on my, like, just pinky, like how like greasy it kind of looks. So that's it right there. And yeah, oh my gosh, it is like so, it's way too emollient. And a little bit goes a long way, so that's good, but I just feel like this would be a nightmare. Like there's no way that this wouldn't immediately crease under the eyes, I feel like, but that's not how I use it. I do use it as a brow concealer like a lot of people do. I don't reach for it super often just because I hate doing my brows. Like I really do hate doing my brows. I think most people do, but I really do. Like sometimes I feel like it's not really necessary, to be honest. And like, I don't know, I think we place too much emphasis on brows. Me personally, I don't even notice brows unless other people point them out to me. So that's how irrelevant brows are to me. I don't believe in the whole brows frame your face type thing. You know, I will fill them in a little bit, but I don't tend to go overboard with my brows because I just honestly hate doing it. It's a boring step. But on the occasions that I do feel like doing a full face beat, and really just kind of spending the time carving out my brows, as they say, I do really enjoy using this product. Like it is really, really nice for that purpose. So I'm going to hang on to that. And then last potted concealer type of product I have is the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in the same shade as the Radiant Creamy Concealer I have. It's the perfect match for me, Amande. So this, as you can see, is super, super matte. So matte that I did not care for this underneath my eyes. I don't even have particularly dry skin, and I did not care for this under the eyes. However, I did really enjoy using this as an eyeshadow base. So kind of like, you know, the thing that I intended to use the MAC cream color base for, but found it didn't really work that well for me, this ended up working great for that purpose. And I didn't buy this with the intention of using it as an eye base. I bought this with the intention of using it as a concealer, but it just was, like I said, too dry to use as like an under eye concealer. And even like using it on the face, it just seemed weird because, you know, it's such a matte product that if you were just applying it to spot conceal your face, like it would look like you just had like a matte patch of something on your face. Kind of like the same issue I ran into with the Colourpop concealer, where if you were just trying to like say spot conceal or use it on certain parts of your face, it just wouldn't match up nicely with the rest of your skin, if you know what I mean, even if it was like the perfect shade. So this is an eye base though, like I said, works great. I do think I need to probably take this out of here though and put it with my eye base products just so I remember to reach for it as an eye base. But yeah, I am going to hold on to this product. Okay, so now let's move a little bit further back in here. I have some liquid highlighters, but I also have a couple of more eye products, or eye base products, I guess you could say. So we'll go ahead and talk about these. First up, I have the Smashbox Lid Primer. This is in the shade Medium. I don't even think that they make this product anymore. I think it was discontinued like pretty shortly after it was launched. So maybe, I don't know if it didn't sell well or people just didn't like it. I personally did not like this, but I think maybe I just, again, at the time, maybe my technique wasn't all that great. So I'd like to go back and revisit this. But I think the idea is great, and I feel like this type of product would actually do really well now because eye primers seem to be, especially like these colored eye primers, seem to be very on trend, and I think it makes a lot of sense to come out with eye primers in skin tone colors. So I think it's really cool that Smashbox did this. So this is the shade Medium, so they even had a shade that was darker than this, but I bought the shade. I thought it'd be nice to use as like still somewhat of a brighter base but closer to my skin tone, because I was always deathly afraid of using something like MAC ochre or soft ochre or painterly because they just looked way too bright. Like I wouldn't even be able to, you know, like cover my eyeshadow with those paint pots underneath my eyeshadow. But this is a nice color. I don't know, I think I felt like it was uneven, so we're just gonna try this again and see how it goes. I had a very similar problem with the Urban Decay Primer Potion in the shade Caffeine. I was really excited when I saw that they came out with this in a darker color because the original one I could never use, even though it was marketed as being kind of like transparent, I guess. I always found that I would have like almost like a white cast or a white film would be on my eyelid after I used the primer, which, you know, you probably don't see that if you have a lighter complexion, but on me I did, and it just made it hard to apply eyeshadow on top of it. So even though the actual product itself worked well, it just made my eyeshadow look bad. So I could never use the regular primer potion, and for the same reason I could never use Too Faced Shadow Insurance. They both did that same thing. So I was happy to see that they came out with this in, you know, a skin tone color for somebody of my complexion. But I don't know, I just didn't really care too much for it, but I do want to give it another shot. So that's that color. I'll blend this. Oh, the Smashbox one actually is already kind of dry, but dang, maybe that's why I didn't like it. Maybe it just dried down too fast. I don't know. Well, I kind of was talking for a bit, so maybe I just let it dry. But I mean, I guess it's a good thing that primers do eventually set, you know. But I do want to give these another try. Like I said, I think before I just expected them to kind of go on super evenly and maybe didn't spend the proper amount of time like really blending them out, buffing them out on my eye. So I'm going to try those again, but again, I probably should move them to another area where I keep the rest of my eye primer products. So I'm gonna rinse my hand off again, and then we'll get to the cream highlighter products. All right, back with a clean hand, ready to go. That Tarte and that Smashbox concealer really did not want to give up though on my hand. I did finally get them off, but I mean, it just goes to show those are really full coverage concealers like they say they are. But let's see, I have a couple more concealers back here actually. These are the LA Girl Pro concealers in the shades Beautiful Bronze and Toffee. I need to get rid of these. These are both super old. Beautiful Bronze actually got quite a bit of use out of this darker one. I used this as like, again, in lieu of foundation, and it worked pretty well for that. I actually did like this shade for that, and it was a pretty good shade. It was maybe a tad darker than I was, but I made it work, and it was pretty okay for that, you know. This shade Toffee, I bought it as a highlighting shade, and unfortunately I just could never make these work as like under eye concealers. They're just way too cakey, like just way too cakey, and I have lines under my eyes. I've always had lines under my eyes, so of course these creased like you wouldn't believe. And I just found them extremely, well, Toffee in particular, because this is the one I was trying to use under my eyes, I found this extremely hard to work with. And I don't even know if I'm going to be able to swatch these, because I mean, I don't know, it just looks so gross, but I'll swatch it. I mean, yeah, I don't, it's so heavy. And then Beautiful Bronze, just so you can see what it looks like. So yeah, those are those two shades. I've heard that they have a foundation and people seem to like their foundation, which I wouldn't mind trying, but trying to get away with using this as like, these as face products like concealer and foundation, they're just a little too heavy for me personally. So I'm going to, and they're old. Most importantly, they're old, so I'm going to get rid of these. Now we can talk about some of my cream highlighter or liquid highlighter type products. I have these two liquid ones that I bought super randomly. Don't know why. Actually, I think I do know why. I wanted to try some liquid highlighters. This is when liquid highlighters first started to become like all the rage. You know, CoverFX came out with their liquid enhancers or whatever they were called. And so I saw this set by Algenist. I think this was like 20 bucks. It was really cheap. And I was like, you know, the thing that always kept me from buying the CoverFX ones, even at the time, even knowing how much they just looked beautiful, and also knowing that I really wanted to try a liquid highlighter product, I also knew that I probably wouldn't reach for it all that often, wouldn't be as practical, and $42 for that amount of product that I would never get through. I didn't want to do it. So, and this was before CoverFX started doing the sets. I feel like they waited so long to do sets. So like by that time, like the people who wanted to try it in the full size had already tried it, and they were just trying to get the people who were like me, like who never got around to buying the full size because they thought that that was ridiculous. But anyways, I digress. Algenist came out with this set, and I was like, this is perfect size. So I picked these up. These are much more natural, I imagine, than the CoverFX highlighting drops, because these have like no glitter in them whatsoever. They just kind of have like a sheen to them. So I think this one is called Rose. Yeah, or is it Rose? It's Rose, excuse me. And then this one is Champagne. So a pinky type of highlighter, and then one that's a little bit more rosy, as the names suggest. I did use these a few times after I first got this set, and I mean, they're okay, they're nice, but obviously they're just very subtle. They smell amazing though. Like I can actually smell them from here. They have like this kind of like, I don't know, like sharp floral scent to them. The thing is, I haven't reached for these in a while, and I don't see myself reaching for these because it just isn't really my style of highlighter. And if I was going to wear a liquid highlighter, I feel like I would want something a little bit more glowy. And in fact, I currently have a glowy liquid highlighter in my Shop My Stash project, which again, that video will be going up pretty soon. But yeah, these aren't really my style. So I'm going to just get rid of these. They smell so nice though. Next up, this is a Becca backlight priming filter. I actually have this in a full size right now that I'm currently using. So this probably I could maybe just give to somebody who wants to try it, because I feel like I don't need to have a sample of this when I'm already using the full-size bottle of it. It is a nice product, I will say that. Next up, I have this Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector. I think this is like a deluxe size in the shade Opal. I love the powder version of this product, the Shimmering Skin Perfector Press in Opal. It's a really pretty color. I have barely used this liquid version though. Honestly, I don't even know if it's still okay anymore. I don't know. It's starting to smell a little bit like off, so maybe that's not the greatest sign. You know, as much as I like the powder version of this highlighter, I feel like this cream version doesn't really do the powder version any justice. It's, you know, it kind of looks similar to my MAC Strobe Cream and Gold Light, which is also another product that I'm using in my Shop My Stash right now, and that product just adds more color to the skin. It could just be because this shade Opal is it's like a taupey color, so maybe it's just not translating on me really at all. So yeah, this product, like I said, it's kind of turning anyways, and probably shouldn't be putting it on my face, so this is probably gonna just go in the trash. Next up, I have the NYX Illuminator, Liquid Illuminator in the shade Gleam. This I have had for a really long time. I think this is like the first liquid highlighter I ever had, because you know, it was at the drugstore, easily accessible, yada yada yada. I think this was even before like CoverFX had the highlighting drops. Again, I'm looking at it and it's just like, it doesn't look all that great. You know, surprisingly, this still actually seems fine. Like, it doesn't have a weird smell to it. So this does have more shine to it though. Like, it's maybe not that visible on camera, but I think this has like a little bit more glimmer to it than the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector does. But I don't use this product, so I should get rid of it. And also, it's like oozing out of the tube now. Great. Okay, last couple of creamy highlighting product type things. This I should have gotten rid of a long time ago. This is the Laura Mercier primer, foundation primer in Radiance. Oh my gosh, I tried this one time and I was the oiliest oil slick of life. It was so bad. It was just so bad. So I don't even know why I still have this. This is just like one of those products I immediately tried it and I was just like never again. It actually, I don't know if you can tell on camera, it does look pretty nice. Like, I can see where Laura Mercier was going with this. I just think on my skin it just looked crazy, and it also just it caused my skin to be like super oily, and I think this has too much of a almost like a white base to it that kind of just shows up on my skin, so it kind of gives off like that Casper-y type of effect. But I think on somebody with a lighter skin tone that has like dry skin, this might actually be like a really great product. But yeah, that is exactly the opposite of me, so I definitely can get rid of this product. One of the last products in here, this is the Jelly Pong Cosmetics Liquid Gossamer, which is kind of a cool name. This I got in an Ipsy bag, I remember, and I never really used this product. Does this have a shade name? It's Ethereal. This is the shade Ethereal. Don't even ask me. Oh gosh, it's like leaking out. Okay, don't even ask me if this brand like still exists, because I had never even heard of it until Ipsy, which was the case with a lot of brands. But let's see, this was really pretty from what I remember, and it had like this really interesting like coconut smell. Like, yeah, it smells like coconut, like it's a tropical kind of scent, so really pretty. This I think has more pizzazz than anything else I've shown so far. I don't know, I thought I was sure I was gonna get rid of this, but it's kind of nice. I'm gonna see, it's a little bit tacky, but it does feel like it's drying down. I'm gonna see what this does, and if this dries down within the next couple minutes, I might hang on to it and try it out just to see what it looks like. Okay, the last little highlighting product I have is this really cute Hourglass Deluxe sample of the what is this called, the Vanish something. That's it, it just says Vanish. But anyways, this is the little highlighting stick. This is the shade Champagne Flash, and I've run out of places to swatch, so let's just do this here. I actually haven't used this really. This was like not the best shade for me, as you can see. Well, okay, it blended out okay, actually. It just looked a little intimidating going on. I'm gonna hang on to this because I just have been meaning to use it, but it's tiny, so I think I just forget that I have it. So this again could be another great like Shop My Stash type of candidate, so we'll see. if we can get some use out of it in the future. So I thought I'd take a little break before I got over to the eyeliners and mascaras area, because that's going to be kind of crazy. But this is what I got rid of in my concealers and the liquid highlighter products. So I think I did pretty good there. Definitely feels good to move these out. One product I actually forgot to talk about because I skipped over it by accident when I was going through my concealers is this Too Faced Born This Way concealer. This is in the shade Deep. This is the original Born This Way concealer, not the new one that's come out. And this is actually pretty much empty. The reason why I held on to this is because I was keeping it to remind myself to repurchase this, because I use this concealer at one point like every day, and basically I use this as like a foundation because this was my exact skin color, and this was in the shade Deep. And I want to say I think this was the darkest shade they had at the time, because their shade range was terrible. And the thing that really confuses me about this concealer too is I also own the foundation in the shade Mahogany, which was the only option for me. I think at some point that shade was also the darkest shade, or it may not have even existed. I think that was a shade that they added at some point, because here's the thing, Too Faced had expanded their shade range I think at least 1 or 2 times before the latest time that they just expanded it. So Too Faced Born This Way started off with a trash range, and gradually they added shades, which is exactly what companies had been doing for years. Tarte, Too Faced, Urban Decay, that's what they all did. They would come out with a product, wait to see if it got popular, and then if it was popular, maybe in 6 months or a year and a half, then they would add more shades. So anyways, this shade is the shade Deep, and the shade I used in the Born This Way foundation was Mahogany. Mahogany was so trash, and it's honestly, it's an insult that shade even still exists in that line, because it is straight up orange. Like, it is actually orange. And when I do my foundation declutter, I still have the bottle, so you guys will see it is straight up orange, and I literally finished it as a color corrector. I'm not even joking. So the thing that confused me was I was like, if they were able to get this concealer in this color, which is, as you can probably see, like, this is a reasonable undertone, if they were able to do the concealer in this shade, why the heck was the foundation just so off? So this worked better for me as a foundation than the actual Born This Way foundation did. But no point in me spending like the close to $30 that this costs, because I think they do still make this concealer if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, why would I throw my money at this and Jared and Too Faced and their just, shade range, which has been historically trash, when I could just buy from brands that have put in the effort and have done a lot better, like Makeup Revolution, like CoverFX. So this is garbage. Another product that I thought I should talk about too, because this was actually in the mascara part of my drawer, but this obviously is not a mascara or a liner. This is a MAC color corrector, and I used this side of it up. I'm pretty sure like there should be like nothing left on this. Yeah, this is like, that's pretty much gone, but I think I might still have some product on this side. Let's see. Yeah, but I just like was always confused about what to do with this. I guess I could keep this for this side to use with concealers that are not yellow enough, or even foundations that aren't yellow enough, because that's quite yellow. The only thing is, like, this product was nice, but I used the color corrector side up very fast. So instead, I've just been repurchasing their Prep and Prime highlighter in the shade Peach Luster, which is almost the same color as this essentially, and a really great formula, and that lasts way longer than this did. So, but I will hold on to this to try to figure out how to use this side of it. And again, this is a product that I don't even know if MAC makes anymore. I'll have to look into that.